Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. This is A Regenerative Future. I'm your host, Matt Powers. Today, we have a very special guest with a very important message, Tjasa Krause. This is someone from Teraganix. You've heard from her before. She's had important messages before, but this one I think is the most important that we've ever gotten, especially if you know a farmer or are a farmer or can get in contact with a farmer, because this could make the difference this year. This could make the difference for all the years to come.
Thank you, Matt. We're trying to be loud right now about how to help farmers. Just before we went into this conversation, me and Matt had a little conversation about what we think is happening because we can see a lot of movement on the market, especially fertilizer market, gas, oil market. Um, we can have a lot of speculation that we see some pattern recognition that a lot of these things are probably manufactured. And if they are or not, what matters is the farmers are going to foot the bill.
Mm.
And then at the end, the consumers are going to foot the bill. It always trickles down there, right? So one of the big things that we've been doing, that's why we were talking to Matthew before, is the nitrogen reduction protocols. And we just want to share at this point just strategies how to do it with or without us. Because there are things you can do locally, there are things you can do on your farm right now, just changing few practices that can save your season. But yeah, we're seeing a lot of movement on the market. We're seeing prices going up. We're seeing supply shortages. And yes, some don't have any problem anymore yet. But let's talk about supply shortage, Matt.
Let's do it.
You dive into it because I can talk about it is happening. Is it real is another thing. But is the availability problematic right now? Yes, it is for a lot of our farmers. Some of them locked in pricing in November, December, and they're not getting deliveries. Some of them are not getting quotes. So like that's what's physically
Already
happening.
happening.
It's already happening. Some are getting quotes, overnight, $1,000 a ton. Previous like they've been getting it for 500, for example. Like we see a big shift. And I've been looking abroad. I've been looking what's happening abroad because fertilizer prices are pegged to they're actually they're set up globally. So even if you have domestic supply, they're set up globally. So we see an average 50% up on urea. I've talked to my grandma. I'm from Europe. I'm from Slovenia. I talked to my grandma. Her bill went up. I have friends in the Middle East. I have friends all over the world. Just had a call with Uruguay, like they're seeing it. It's happening. The prices are going up significantly.
This is not a new problem. We were just talking about how in 2020 this began. We had fertilizer, we had food shortages of both, but we also had rationing in the UK and Spain. We had, and then 2021, 2023, it's just been a repeat of the pattern. I've been just updating the headlines in my presentations with each new year. And I realized going back over it this last time, and this is a presentation I have on YouTube right now, I literally like have the past 5 years mapped out, and it's the same headlines warning us that there's food shortages already, there's fertilizer shortages already. And so we were already at the edge when this whole war thing happened.
We've been seeing margins, especially from 2022 on, margins for farmers compressing significantly. You know that just this year in 2026, we reached in US farming 600 billion debt. And
Ugh.
we have 46% year over year more bankruptcies in farming. So these legacy farms are going bankrupt. Family farmers, where is this land going? Who is this land going to? It's going to billionaires, it's going to data centers, it's going for lithium mining. Like, is this really accidental?
Well, regardless of whether it is or not, like you said, it's going to hurt farmers now. And so this plan that you all are working on is so this new aggressive level to this plan that you have been working on is so critically important because it's these margin these razor thin margins that they're butting up against, and so we need to remove we need to create massive savings in order to give them wiggle room.
Yeah, to give them profit back, to give that margin back, because commodity prices are not moving the
Right.
way input costs are moving. So yeah, I mean, one of our known things that we've been doing since 2022 is the nitrogen reduction strategy. So we've been reducing nitrogen by 50%. I'm gonna say the 2.0 thing happening for the next season. It's my internal goal that I'm trying to reach is that we will have protocols that will be a third of a current budget for all nutrients, a third of how row crops of what row crops are right now spending. So that's my internal budget. We know we can do significant reductions, but I want to peg it to a budget, and that's basically what our goal is. So we're doing trials and we're developing protocols to go towards that. So just a little sneak peek of what we're trying to achieve. But right now we're achieving 50% reduction on nitrogen. And today I want to talk about, and I want you to basically give your inputs because you know a lot about this from soil perspective. How can we reduce nitrogen with or without us? Like what are the things that farmers can do today? What are the like resources they can use? What are the farming practices that we know work that can help them reduce nitrogen usage? Or just use because a lot of our farmers, like I said, are not getting enough nitrogen. So like how do you use what you have and still get the crop and still get the yield you desire? And basically, we kind of went through the why the nitrogen costs keep going up, right? But we also know that, urea and UAN and all of these nitrogen sources that our farmers are using, they're already losing 60 to 80% of the product. So, like, we already know there's such a big gap in efficiency of these nitrogen sources. So basically, that's kind of what we're going against is like let's reduce volatilization, let's reduce leaching, let's reduce tying up all of these nutrients that are tied up in the soil by different microbes. Some are great; they're actually mining and helping, but some are using it for their own food. We talked about tight margins, right? So I'm gonna skip that one and move forward to like what are the immediate steps that farmers, growers can do? And very important thing is in what form is your plant, your crop absorbing nitrogen?
Mm.
Because if we're putting down synthetic urea, that is not a bioavailable form. Like it takes up to 20 days to break down. And what's going to happen in the meantime is going to volatile, it's going to leach, and it's going to get tied up in the soil. So up to 80% when we're using liquid nitrogen, yes, you have a portion of urea, a portion of nitrates, a portion of ammonium. Again, up to 60% still gets lost. So really important is what form is your nitrogen in? So if you can get it into amino acid form, which is literally organic nitrogen, it's what plants absorb and put in as a building block to push out foliage right away. That's a faster uptake. It takes less energy. Even ammonium and nitrates, which are bioavailable forms for plants, they still need to convert it. They still need to use energy to do that, right? So like amino acids, it's directly usable. Again, if we can favor ammonium-based nitrogen, it is a little bit more expensive, but it is more efficient. It has less nitrates in. Nitrates are highly leachable. We have so much nitrate leaching with rain into groundwater, just basically losing the product. If you can incorporate slow release or buffered forms, those are also things you can do. And if you can reduce reliance on salt heavy synthetic forms, urea is also we also call it an inorganic salt. And I started using the analogy because I think most people will notice, you know what Romans did to mess with their enemies?
Salt the earth.
They salted their soil. So we know that there's still places that they've been salted so heavily that 2000 years later they're still not producing. So what are we talking about here? We were talking about synthetic nitrogens that are also called inorganic salts. So it's not just that we're trying to reduce nitrogen for profitability. We're basically trying to save that soil, that natural soil fertility that we're losing because we're using salt-based nitrogen. And I think it's estimated at this point that about a third of all synthetic nitrogens that are put down in the soil are there because we need to replace the natural soil fertility that we've lost. Only two-thirds go towards yield, and one-third you lose. So maybe only a third actually goes towards your yield to boost your yield. So that is one thing is the form of nitrogen. Next one is the method of application. If you can apply your nitrogen foliar, it's already 4 to 7 times more efficient without doing anything. Yes, you got to be careful about burning the crop. There's dilutions, there's a lot of things that you can do. You can dissolve it, dilute it, and so on. But if you can apply the foliar 4 to 7 times more efficient. If we look back, before we started, we as people started commercially farming, how are plants, how are crops growing? How were they growing in the nature? They were not absorbing nitrogen through soil. Very little nitrogen is fixated in the soil. 80% of nitrogen, the air is 80% of nitrogen. They were absorbing it through leaves, they were absorbing it foliar. So that's the mechanism that plants have. And now we're pushing it through the roots and they don't have mechanism for that, right? Their natural machine is not that. Their natural machine is let's apply it, let's absorb it foliar. So small foliar amounts can actually replace large soil rates. Like I said, it can be 4 to 7 times more efficient. You also, when you're applying foliar, you rely less on rain, right? When you're applying it on soil, can't be too close to rain, can't be too far away from rain. It's so hard to work with those conditions, and applying it foliar can kind of like bypass that, and you can apply it directly where the plant is going to use it, which is in foliage. Nitrogen is there to push foliage. That's it. That's what it basically does. A little bit of other things, but that's the most important thing. And when we're talking about pushing foliage, timing. Like there are only certain stages in growth where plant actually needs it. And it's applied like a peak vegetative demand for that crop. If you don't know it for your crop, it's very easy to find what are the peak demanding stages. It's mostly in vegetative stage. You do not want to go too close to reproductive stage because it will actually pull your grain production. It is actually going to lower your grain production. So that's another thing is like when you have urea, you put it, you side dress it, and then it's used 20 days later. You're so close to reproductive stage. You're actually doing the opposite. So timing is really important. Split applications are really good if you can do it so that you can hit those timings. Um, and yeah, match the delivery to growth stage, not your calendar date, right? Match it to your growth stage. And those are the three things that can help you reduce nitrogen significantly. And those are also the three things how our protocol works. So I'm not gonna go deep into it. I've just shared what everyone can do without our help to use the nitrogen they have or to reduce the uses of nitrogen. But that's basically what we do. We are making sure that it's applied at the right timing. It's fast absorption. It's in 2 to 3 days. It peak demand in vegetative state. We applied it in what I said before, amino acid form. So we take your nitrogen source, very little. Today, I got asked, I was on a call with a farmer because they got a protocol and they're like, well, I did the math. I just don't understand it. You're saying 1 to 10. One unit is going to stretch me to 10 units of what would be soil applied nitrogen. I'm like, Yes, you did the math correctly. That's exactly what we're saying. It's because you are taking a little portion of synthetic nitrogen and microbes are through metabolic process converting it to amino acids. That is the usable form of nitrogen. Then you're applying it foliar and then you're applying it at the right time. And that is our protocol. It's super simple. So we address all of that loss that happens. We address the mechanism of the plant so that it absorbs it foliar. We bypass the root absorption and all of those things. So that's the simplest as I can put what we do with our protocol. And it costs farmers so little. It costs them $6 to $14 an acre.
So many farmers, I think that, like, so I've dealt with this with mycorrhizal fungi. They'll be like, "Oh, we have to till it in," and I'm like, "No, no, just put it on the seed, just the seed."
Just the seed.
And it's the same thing with like when someone wants to just get into your new protocols. I tell people like start with the seed. It's like get that on your seed. And it's just like a no-brainer once you know. But so many farmers have just been listening to people who were like, and you're going to need a fungicide after that. And then you're going to need, they've been listening to people who have been just bilking them and, bleeding them of money.
They're trying to sell as much product as possible. Of course, you're trying to say, oh, you need one nitrogen unit per one bushel. Of course, it sounds logical. So you want to sell as much as possible. And we're here saying use as little as possible. Use as little as possible. Make it as cheap as possible. Because we got questions like, how are you making your protocol so cheap? It really is cheap for a biological protocol. It's because that's the goal. Our goal is that it is cheap. Our goal is input reduction. And like, we're not making money out of your 100 acres if you're doing a 100-acre trial. We're actually spending more money for you to do this than we're actually making. Yes, eventually, when somebody's doing broad acreage, that's where we get some margin out of it, right? But like we've invested so much in this business because we believe in this business. We believe we can help, and we believe that one day this business is also going to be bread and butter for us while we deliver value. But that's the whole point is we want you to reduce and a lot of our protocols that are addressing soil health are like they're tailored towards you using us less. The third year you use us less. That's the whole point because we're trying to regenerate your soil. You go from treating to maintenance. So we are not saying you're going to use us more and more and more every year. We're saying you're going to use us less and less and less and less. And then there's going to come a year where you're going to have a challenge. You might need something more. But the goal is use less, even our products.
What's so great is that John Kemp is echoing this for his audience, AEA. They're echoing the same thing. They're like, actually, nitrogen is a problem. And they've been framing nitrogen as a problem as causing excess nitrates in the plants, which leads to fungal, and insect pressure.
These insects love high nitrogen in plants. Like you are basically calling it in.
That audience knows they need to get out of, because what I said yesterday in my live, or 2 days ago, I guess, they use more. It's this problem we have. It's a very human problem. It happens all over the world, cultures all over the world. We have a problem, so I guess I'll just use more. And so you have all these people who have had like actual micronutrient problems or lack of soil organic matter. And what do? They add more NPK or more just nitrate. And then they don't understand why it gets worse. And so it's like we're walking back some of these people from so deep down that process. They've been 10 years, 20 years, 30 years down more.
Let me show that more, right? Okay, so this is coffee, right? Coffee is here on this shelf and I cannot reach it. This is my root. I cannot reach it. So do I need a bigger or longer hand? Or do I need somebody to put 3 more coffee cups there? That's basically what we're doing. We're putting 3 more coffee cups and we're like, yeah, just take it. Yeah. There's no root development. There's no organic matter. There's no biology. There's no root development that's helping you take that coffee cup off the shelf.
Wow.
And that's kind of what we're saying is use less, support biology that can actually use what you have. Don't just put more. If they're not using it, the crop is not using it. It doesn't have tools to use it.
And it's not just nitrogen. So something that I talk about when I present on this is that there's examples from Teraganix, from your team, where in 2 months in Arizona, there was a gain of 0.5% soil organic matter. Soil organic matter is, of course, C to N ratio measured. So that's nitrogen that is now permanently part of that soil. Well, it'll be there as long as you don't mess it up, right? And then the water, like he was able to have a 30% water reduction in 2 months. And so this year, Utah, they're struggling. They got 6 inches of rain. Everyone's like, I don't know what we're going to do. They're rationing the water. And it's like, let's go with a 30% reduction in water right off the bat. Let's go with a 50% reduction or more of nitrogen right off the bat. And these protocols are synergistic. So it's like, yeah, you're saving water, you're saving nitrogen. It's saving your plant energy, so the plant actually can dedicate that energy more towards its immune system and producing. And so you get this holistic, iterative, exponential shift that happens. And that's why you become less necessary 3 years in. This is why Todd Harrington, he's like, well, it takes 2 to 3 years to rehabilitate, make a site regenerative. And this is what it's probably going to take. And this is what farmers need to realize is that the next 2 to 3 years, if we all buckle down and help each other, we can get through this time period. But on the other side of it is even more savings.
And we do have mechanisms to make those 2 to 3 years profitable too. Because my pet peeve is I don't want to sell regenerative at a risk of 2 3 years that can put somebody out of business.
Right.
And we have farmers that are living loan to loan that are afraid to make a change because they are one bad year away from losing a generational farm. So we definitely start with protocols that can show you, hey, you can create budget year one on this input, on this input, on this input, and you've already taken steps in your soil towards more sustainable, so more self-sufficient while doing that.
Right. And that's the key is we are literally talking about being more self-sufficient. We are talking about being better with your business. We are talking about being better with your health and the health of everything, the food, your workers, yourself, and your customers, because high nitrates in food are terrible for you. So it's like, it's such like a compounding effect of gain that you guys are offering. The reason I promote you all is because I believe in you. Because I see the results. I live the results, And so I'm always doing it. I find it the easiest modality. It's also that liquid modality is the number one easiest modality for all these farmers to work with.
That's my step two. We already like walked into, I was talking about the economics, right? So it's like but my step two was biology. I was like, what are the immediate things that you can do this year for your nitrogen? And what are the things that can get you out of this system, this treadmill that keeps you in this system? And like I said, we have very little spendings and pretty high ROIs for our farmers. I mean, in the years before, they were getting $50 to $100 an acre back. This year, with today's prices, I mean, the return on investment this year is going to be insane for our farmers. Um, but yeah, let's walk towards it's just some comparison, right? Look at this. This is 60 to 80 units of nitrogen less here
Wow.
than the normal program, and here, and here, and here, and same yield. That's just there. Just there in previous years, that's $50 in your back pocket.
It's really interesting in some of those areas that are really yellow the first year, they're really dark the second year.
Yeah.
It's
And
like,
also you have to know that there's like different soil conditions. So you can have like some worse soil condition, better soil condition, but this performs no matter the soil condition because it is foliar.
but it's also remediating the soil. These microbes become systemic in the plant. They feed off the photosynthetic sugars of the plant. They circulate through the whole phloem, which means they're in the roots, which means that as those exudates are leaving, they're releasing these microbes. And these microbes are transforming. They're used to clean up sewage in Japan. They're used to clean up petrochemical spills. All of our problems, the over salting, all of these things, and it sounds crazy. It sounds like a silver bullet, and it's not. It doesn't magically create cobalt, right? It doesn't magically create gold or cobalt or anything like that. But biologically, because these are dominant microbes, the most dominant microbes on Earth are the most adaptable. Otherwise, they wouldn't be dominant. So, because they're so dominant, they're so adaptable, which means they can feed and live in a lot of situations. And most of the ones that are the most dominant are the most beneficial because they have to work with everyone. They're fitting into everyone else's systems in a way that the system's not trying to kill them. And that means that they're commensal. That means that they're symbiotic, they're endophytic. And so we have these, just like nitrogen is running through the plants and into our food and into our bodies, just like phosphate is, it's in our bones. And these things are so common in the natural world that everything was either designed, created, or evolved, whatever, your perspective. But they had to deal with them. They had to deal with these elements, these microbes, and the way they work is miraculous. We are so lucky that but that's the way the world works. You go all over the world, you'll find these EM microbes in wild plants, on the surfaces, inside them, in their roots. Healthy soils, healthy compost, they all have it. But you all have this concentrated form that allows for these miraculous, speedy reactions. And I think that, especially with purple non-sulfur bacteria, Rhodosomonas palustris, if it didn't exist, we wouldn't exist. And so once people recognize that's how fundamental these microbes are, they can begin to wrap their mind around why they are so powerful and why they solve so many problems.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's kind of like we kind of wrapped up that immediate solution and then the how to get steps towards regenerative and self-sufficient is utilizing biology and utilizing soil health. If you can get your organic matter up, you're feeding your native microbes. You don't need to add microbes because you're feeding the native microbes. In 2 to 3 years, you won't be needing to add anything. Also, you said before water reduction, right? Yeah, I think the number, haven't been talking about it for a while, but I think the number is about 1% of organic matter more in the soil is about 20,000 gallons an acre retention more or something like that because it works like a sponge. Like if soil doesn't aggregate perfectly together, if it's just whoop, there's nothing holding, there's no reservoirs. They're holding that water, right? So, like, organic matter is super important. Your biology is super important. Like, they cannot work one without the other. And those are all the things that can help you be more drought resistant. It can help you be more wind resistant. That's thing we have to talk about too. Is like you have good roots, you have a wind resistant crop. You have a more like hail is a big one, like there's not much you can do, but also yes you can. You can still push foliage after hail if your roots are healthy, if your crop is doing well. Those are protocols that can help you weather a lot of these weather conditions, these catastrophic things that are basically pushing you being reliant on government handouts and being reliant on insurance. Which, again, another thing that we're seeing today is like insurance companies are not insuring as much anymore because they see where this thing is going, right? Where the farming is going. So we see farmers have problems getting loans to buy their inputs to farm because that's how farming works. I get a loan from a bank. I buy these inputs. I farm, and at the end of the season, I hope for the best for the commodity prices. Go back, pay off these loans. So that's why when I say that the debt just hit 600 billion, and a lot of these farms are living loan to loan. So banks are afraid to put out those loans because they're like, oh, I mean, they're not going to have a crop this year. What they're going to pay it with, and then insurance is the next one. They're not going to have a crop this year. So like this is a system that is designed for you to be reliant on it. Like and these are the tools that can get you out of it.
I would add cover cropping.
Cover cropping. Yeah, I have it here. It's a big one. Cover cropping. Pair it with nitrogen fixators.
But be careful. You don't want to flail mow a nitrogen fixer because that causes too much of a nitrogen release unless you're following it with TCM or doing it at the same time with TCM. That will control the nitrogen release. If you're tilling it in, a nitrogen cover crop tilled in can cause compaction because what happens is it's a flare of nitrogen which then gases off the carbon in that area and collapses the structure of the soil.
If you can, going away from tilling
Crimping.
is incredibly important because you are displacing nutrients and you're displacing microbes, and you don't want that. You want a topsoil. You want all of the soil layers are there for a reason. Like a perfect soil forms layers of where the organic matter is, where the roots are, where the biology is, where the water is being, retained and all of that. Like once you start tilling and some deep tillage specifically, you disrupt the whole thing. So that's one thing that's really important. Also, what we've been seeing year after year, we have farmers that are using microbes in furrow with planting, and they have better root system. Even corn, which is an annual, right? It's an annual crop. It's not a perennial. They are seeing year three better root development because they're not tilling, and the little like tunnels are already made. So like root, like it's everything is prepared for next year and next year and next year, right? So once you till, you basically disrupt all of those tunnels, and roots have to work day one, like from the beginning. So those are also the things we're seeing is just putting microbes in furrow with planting. We're seeing year three better results in root development because they've already prepared the pathways for root development. So there's so many consequences that compound when you do it this way.
I would also add that crimping and using TCM will help control that decomposition. So even if you've had prior years where you have unwanted pathogenic saprophytic endophytes, these microbes are the preferred microbes. These microbes push out those pathogens that are also
Compete
endophytes.
pathogens.
And so you'll be able to use TCM on your cover crop, on your crop plant detritus and plant debris. You'll be able to use EM on it to control the decomposition with lactobacillus and yeast and make it so that you don't have those pathogens continuously release aflatoxins and mycotoxins, but also their spores. And then they're there next year for your plant to go into endophytically in your plant. You interrupt that whole process. And so it's again another usage is its biological steering and biological control. And you can use it every step of the process at incredibly low levels even, and have surprisingly stunning results.
That's it from my side.
So tell me more about the things on the horizon that you guys are working on, if you can.
Oh yeah, I can. So, like I said before, there's a couple of technologies that we're looking into that we're really interested in. I'm not gonna say yet what because it's in the making. But like I said before, our internal goal is to get a nutrient budget down to a third. And I'm talking NPK and micronutrients, specifically for row crops. Orchards are a little bit different. We're gonna have a different protocol there, but down to a third. Now imagine two-thirds of a budget, not 50%, even 50%, just nitrogen reduction today is getting our farmers anywhere from 50 to $150 in their back in their pocket. I mean, for a corn farmer, that's a lot.
That is.
That's a lot for a corn farmer. Now imagine getting your whole nutrient budget down to a third and growing the same crop.
Yeah.
So we're gonna utilize biology, we're gonna utilize how to chelate things, we're gonna utilize timing, all of the things that we know about nature, and we're gonna go down to using as little nutrients as possible and actually use those nutrients in bioavailable form and deliver it with biology that can actually help absorb it. So that's our big one. In the making. We have to, like, we're already working on it, but we have to make it through this season for the next 2 months to help farmers because we have a lot of people coming in asking for help right now. So we need to like bridge those 2 months, and then we're more going into that because we can do separate. We already have a phosphorus reduction protocol in the making. We can go down to 70-80% on nitrogen. We can only use our protocol to grow some crops at this point. We don't have to just do 50% reduction. But I think the big one that we want to hit is let's get the whole nutrient package down to a third of today's budget.
Wow.
Um, so that's one thing. We do have some protocols for like herbicide reduction and all of that. We want we want herbicide, fungicides, pesticides instead of being a normal part of your crop management program, that to be a response. I feel like today you just go with it no matter what because it's recommended and
Oh,
you do a V6 pass of herbicide because that's in your program. And we're like, let's get these synthetical things down to a minimum and let it be a reactive response. Because I think we can get in 3 to 5 years, we can get your soil, your crop to a point that it doesn't need it anymore at all, because it will it will self-regulate. But it is a tool, and let's use it wisely and let's use it as little as possible and let's hurt the crop and soil as little as possible.
yeah.
Kind of like those are kind of our big goals or big things that are happening. We're trying to make farming profitable again. We're trying to get farmers back so that they're proud of their land, proud of what they're making so that they can actually sustain their family, sustain their farm, and not live loan to loan anymore. That's our biggest goal.
Well, you guys are definitely making it possible. It's just about getting enough people to know what's possible now.
Yeah, just getting the word out. And we'll get pushbacks. We get a lot of push, not a lot anymore. But we get pushbacks like it's not possible. It's 1 to 10. That's not possible. It's mathematically not possible. Or the university studies are saying I need 1 unit of nitrogen per 1 bushel. Yeah, we'll get all of those. I'm like, you know what? I personally believe in informed consent. I will educate you. I will let you know that there is an alternative. And end of the day, you will make a decision that is best for you. And that's what I believe in. I'm not going to tell you you need to absolutely do this. And one of the things is like, well, pushing back on like, well, you're sharing all this news about fertilizer shortage and so on. I'm like, well, would rather be safe than sorry. I would rather be prepared than be hit with a bill and then the same commodity price as last year and 50% higher nitrogen bill and then look back at my tax returns and be like, "Oh, I just lost 100K this year. I didn't even notice." Because that's what we're seeing. Even today, we're seeing a lot of our farmers don't even have a visibility into their finances. And they go back to a tax return and are like, "Oh, I just lost money. I didn't even know. I didn't even anticipate losing money." So we're here just FYIing you.
Mm.
This is a possibility. Like, you make a decision. I'm here to help you understand. I'm here doing the work so you don't have to look at what's happening here in this part of the world and all of the news. Our team is working hard to get the information out. I'm not getting money out of getting information out, like we're trying to help. And if anyone wants our help, we're here open-handed. But end of the day, we are huge libertarians in our company. And we believe in being self-sufficient. We believe in independence. We don't believe in control. And that's kind of like we like to fight the treadmill. So that's who we are, and we are just doing it for the love of the game.
Ha! I love it. Well, you all are doing such a great job. This new protocol was such a incredible surprise when you guys started promoting that. And then to hear about, your goal to go for 10x efficiency, or making your nitrogen 10x more efficient. It's exciting because it's exactly what's needed, and I don't see anyone else doing it. It's interesting because from my understanding, John Kemp is doing it by bringing in the micronutrients. It's
Yeah,
like
and they're
he's
big on educating about foliar, big on
right,
that.
right, and
And
efficient.
there are others who are trying to do some things, and there's some good protocols out there. There's some good products out there.
But transforming what they already have is so critical, because
Yeah,
when
yeah.
you teach someone, when you're trying to get someone to learn something or grow or listen to you, it's so important to speak their language. It's so important to meet them where they are at. And if we
Yeah.
want to really change farmers, we got to meet them where they're at. And right now, your perspective is so deeply understanding of where they're coming from, and respectful, and then B, on point. Like, this is what they need to do right now. Save the farm, save all that money. And in a year like this, saving that money is going to be the difference. And it might not make it so they feel like they're wealthy at the end of the year. It might just make it feel like we got through this.
Like I can breathe. Like
Right.
if one first year we can just do like a little breathing room. It's
Yeah.
like my husband likes to say, also works in Teraganix, Chad. He likes to say no margin, no mission,
Mhm.
right? Like everyone needs to survive in this chain. Like if we keep extorting money from farmers, and like I said at the beginning, like we have 46% year over year more bankruptcies in farming, like the whole chain will collapse.
Yeah.
And the land is going, in my perspective, in the wrong hands, and those are not the people I want to serve, and those are not the people I want stewarding our land.
And the reality is the big majors are slowly pivoting to regenerative, and they're doing it slow, which gives us an opportunity to save the small farmer. Because if they switched like super fast and then just joined in and buying all this land,
Mhm.
it would be like all those family farms would be screwed. But we have this window of opportunity to help the family farmers keep that generational farm, because the majors aren't pivoting. The majors are going to take this fertilizer shortage on the chin. They're all just going to take the hit, and it's going to be a
Yeah, because they
bad
can't.
season. Well, for the farmers below them, they're sharecropper farmers. It's going to be a terrible year, and then
Yeah.
financially, they're going to ride through, of course. But it's going to eat up farms. It's going to ruin marriages. It's going to do a lot of terrible things.
A lot of terrible things. I mean, like I had moments when I'm like, I can't even think about the possible consequences. I don't know if you knew, but like one of the groups that has highest suicide rate in US are farmers. Like this year is just, it hurts me. It hurts us. It hurts our team. Like, we like the people we work with. We love the people we work with. I worked all around the world. I worked in different sectors. I lived in the Middle East, Europe, here. Like this is by far my favorite group of people I ever worked with. Even the sassy ones, even the ones that push back, like I like these people. They are so much smarter than they get credit for. I mean, I've had incredible conversations that blew my mind and opened my mind to like, oh my gosh, I don't like how, this group is sometimes showed in the public because I'm like, these are probably the smartest people that I worked with. Like you cannot farm if you're not smart. It's really hard.
Yeah, there's definitely some propaganda there. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's so funny. It's like you watch the cartoons and stuff. The boys were bringing up cartoons last night, and they were like, "Yeah, do you see how they portrayed the Irish in that?" And it's like, dang, it's like different time periods. It's like and that propaganda has shaped. Like, I mean, if you look at my generation, they all watched Farm Inc. and they watched Joel Salatin, 20 years ago talk about how farming's broken, and that was great, but it mostly turned into armchair criticism of farmers without understanding their actual predicament.
Yeah.
And those farmers are sick of it, and to be misunderstood, but then also judged is an unexpected weight, I think, for a lot of those people. And that's it's not a fair thing at all. And so
It's hard work, hard industry, and like the system is not designed to help them. It's not designed to help them. Like even if you do want to walk away from all of these things, right? Even if you do want to farm with better practices and make healthier food, let's just take one example. Insurance. If you don't put a fungicide on your seed, we're not going to insure it because that is a standard protocol. And we're like, so the seed that needs fungi to germinate and push roots out was just treated with a fungicide. Like they're not stupid. They know that. But then like we talked about it, right? When you are one season away from possibly losing everything, you cannot afford to not have that insurance. And so it's such a compounding, like I mean,
and
it
it's
hurts me, like
and
it
it's
pisses
education
me
too.
off.
We have to be loud enough so that those individuals who are actually the bank, like the thing that Ryan Noss brought up in a room full of farmers, and all I saw was nods, was like, and half the time that bank is just some dude that no one knows about, but who lives in town or in the city locally, and if you could just influence them or get them the information, they would allow it, but they don't want to hear it, or you can't reach that person. And I'm like, the bioregional banks are one person? Like, first of all, whoa. And then secondly, like, that means that like they're influenceable, hopefully. And it means that we need to get this story out there. And that's why from my side of it, I'm working on this database so that we can showcase these changes, the amounts, the timing, all the things that you're able to showcase, we're able to help farmers do, so that it can vet your work and so many other people great work, mycorrhizal fungi, and so that the rest of the farming community, the regulatory communities, all of these people can see for themselves, and we can start shifting these paradigms, because they have a limiting paradigm if they're thinking they have to put a fungicide down in the furrow, or they're evil.
Yeah, but that's what's happening. I used one that I think is ridiculous, but it shows you how hard it is to make changes,
Yeah.
how hard it is to make changes inside of this system, and that, nobody should be blamed for not being able to make those changes.
Yeah, we should have a system that allows for people to change because it actually has a pathway. And what I love so much about what you guys have done, though, your approach is just like green cover is like, just start doing cover crops. Just start. And these are pathways. And so you're doing all this work, then they're like, I'm going to add mycorrhizal fungi. And then it levels them up to a whole other level. And it's like, yes, that's what it's all about. It's like we all can do our individual parts, but each one of these pieces combines into this holistic reality of the way plants were originally meant to be grown. And that's what we're all heading back towards. And if we could just see it clearly, if we could just communicate it clearly, it would spread faster. So I'm going to try to do that from my end to support you all, to support everyone really. But I appreciate you guys and the work you do so much. It's such a great service that you provide.
And likewise, I mean, Matt, we appreciate so much what you do, the education you do. I'm reading your book. Look, I'm learning from you all the time. I literally have your book on my table, and I'm like getting ideas from like, okay, what can we do with the knowledge that we also get from you? Like, okay, what is our next protocol? How far can we push this, right? Because we've lost. I think we as people have lost the idea of what is our actual crop production capacity.
Right.
We don't know anymore because nothing is produced naturally anymore. So we don't really know where the bound like where the limits are. Like what is the actual the capacity of these crops. And I think that's kind of what we're chasing. We're chasing what is the capacity of these crops with as little as what we can do as possible.
And orchards. I imagine a part of the challenge of the orchards is the trees want way, way less of everything, and then the orchard grasses and the cover crops in between the rows, they're normal annuals, and they want regular soil with lots of stuff in it. Is that kind of part of the challenge?
Yeah, I mean, orchards in like if you look at historically, orchards were grown in this big, um, how we call it, they were growing between these like historical big paths that people crossed, right? So
Oh,
like animal, that's how orchards were grown. You had this big crossing points or this big like I don't know Romans when they did their had their they were big in infrastructure and like roads and stuff like that. And orchards were just around like people were just coming, taking, and they were like planting a little bit and so on. So these orchards were thriving, getting getting animal poop, getting all of the things that were growing in between, all of the cover crops and all of that. And that's basically how historically orchards were grown, and they were doing so well. And they were literally on the transition paths. So they've been maintained,
agroforestry.
planted, and harvested while people were transitioning.
Right. That's super interesting. Yeah, agroforestry is also kind of the missing link in all of this. And people are like, wait, you're talking permaculture? And it's funny because more and more these days with farmers, I'm talking permaculture. If you just add a windbreak to North Dakota, you get to feed your cows 50% less feed over winter. That's a big bill difference. And
We're seeing this with our protocols, like the nutritional protein value going up.
yeah,
And we have so many reports because a lot of our protocols are deployed in Bermuda grass pasture, and a lot of that goes for cattle, horses. And we're like, oh, I just added a few more heads and I'm feeding them this same amount because they're not just that they saved on nitrogen, the crop nutritional value, protein value went up. So now they're eating less because the food is more nutrient dense. So they're eating less in quantity. So they're feeding more. So like there's so many little things that happen that is reducing your bill.
yeah.
That there are consequences of doing it this way.
Well, I hope that we reach some folks today. I hope that everyone's taking notes, and you can, of course, can watch this multiple times, but reach out to Teraganix if you feel called to it. Start studying these things if you feel like you can DIY it, and then share this with anyone you know that works with soil, anyone you know that works with farmers or is farming, because it's information like this that allows people to pivot, allows people to change in a powerful way, so that those generational farms can stay in the family's hands, so that those businesses, which are pillars to your safety and the stability of your food, the food chain in your area, are intact and resilient. And so share, and spread the word. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much to Tjasa. I appreciate you so much. And Chad and Matt, you guys are a great team.
Thank you, Matt, and thank you for everyone that's listening.